Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast where we discuss what it's really like to stay healthy in this modern, fast paced world. I'm Tiffany Simms, your holistic wellness coach and burnout recovery expert. And today, you may not know this, but a lot of times the things that we're struggling with in our bodies and the reason we're using food as a coping mechanism to just release the stress in our bodies and to survive life, one of those things is that our harmony in our relationships is just not right. There's something in those relationships that is just a little off, and we're just drowning those sorrows and that energy in food. And so today, I'm really excited to be here with Risa Gaull, who is going to help us learn how to have a loving relationship with ourselves as well as those around us. So, Risa, if you don't mind, share who you are, where do you live, what makes you you, and then we'll hop on in.
Yeah, thanks, Tiffany, for having me on. It's Risa, like Lisa,
Risa,
with an
thank
R.
you.
Yes, so I am in the New England. I'm in Connecticut area, and
Nice.
how I got into doing this work is it's really through my own life experience. I just was married to a man who struggled with alcoholism and depression, and I did not realize until all of that happened. He was sober when I met him, but about 7 years into our marriage, he relapsed. And oh boy, did that really my whole world just, here this person I was depending on for my sense of security, sort of my sense of identity, that love, that validation, was just kind of imploding before my eyes. And so it was really through that experience that I did not realize how codependent I was being. And I didn't even know what that word meant at the time. But that's really been my passion, is just, even like through my whole life, just how do I love myself? How do I like who I am? How do I, that like, I think there's like, I see that like so many of us, we're just kind of looking to sources outside ourselves for that love, that approval. So
Yes.
we don't know how to really give that to ourselves.
I love that you said I was in this codependent relationship, and at the time I didn't really know what that meant. And
Mm.
I've also found myself there. I think a lot of women find themselves in this relationship, and we get told that like you're being needy, you're too clingy, like you're too much, and you're like, I just love you. Like I'm in this with you. You're my partner. I want to be all these things with you. What's wrong with that? So from your perspective, for the woman who's like, I don't understand codependency, like this is my partner, really, what does codependency really mean, and what did you discover about yourself in that?
Yeah, such a great question. So, I'm not coming from a clinical perspective with this. So, what codependency means to me, I kind of take a more general view of it because I think we're all kind of doing it to some degree. So, my definition of codependency is when we're just making our well being, our emotional well being, overly dependent on another person. So like that was my big learning.
Do you have a specific example of that, of what that might look like in someone's life?
Yeah. Yes, so it shows up that, there's, so the main three ways that I see that it shows up for people are this idea of people pleasing. And there's good reasons why we have these patterns, and we can get into that. But so people pleasing is when we're, uh, maybe even overgiving, like putting ourselves last on our priority list. I know you talk about that a lot with your audience here. Just maybe even that feeling of like feeling overly responsible for other people. And I've had all of these, and perfectionism. So people pleasing, feeling overly responsible for other people, or perfectionism.
So good. I
Yeah.
I love that. It's so true. And there's always, and I can hear the woman right now being like, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. It's my job to nurture and provide. Like that doesn't make me codependent. I would even add another layer there of saying like is that like it's when you're relying on other people to fill your own emotional needs. And it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that you need to do everything on your own, but like your partner and your children cannot be responsible for your happiness, your sanity, and you feeling grounded and level. It's like when you put that into somebody else and you don't know how to give it to yourself, that's when we're setting ourselves up for those really hard failure moments, those moments to learn and grow from, if you will.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. That's sort of where the delineation is, yeah, of course, we have responsibilities, especially if you have kids, you have to, and take care of other people. But that's really the delineation that you're talking about right there. It's when we become, when I need you to somehow show up in a particular way in order for me to be okay, for me to be centered, for me to be grounded. Nobody can do that for you. Everyone's having just a hard enough time doing that for themselves, right? That's our responsibility, is to, we say happiness is an inside job, right? We've heard that, we know that, but what does that look like? How do I do that? And so that's all the, all the work. And it really does, like, start with self-care, like self-care. And what does that even mean? It's like, physically, just even on a physical level, what do I just need to do to take care of myself physically today?
Yes.
Maybe I just make sure I eat or get enough sleep, or,
I am so happy you said that because that is so real. Like, yes, massages and pedicures and getting your nails done is nice, and taking that vacation is nice. But like, what are you doing today to take care of yourself? And I love that you said, like, how am I eating today? Am I moving my body? Did I take
Mhm.
5 minutes to like be
Mhm.
grateful or to like just reflect for myself and sit in silence with just me? Like,
Mhm.
I don't think that mainstream life talks about that enough. We talk about the
Mhm.
pedicures and the vacations and the spa days, but like
Yeah,
showing up to
that's not,
take care of you,
yeah.
that's self-care.
Yeah, I think it's the more the day in and day out
Wholeheartedly
practices,
agree.
and how we're approaching ourselves. And even if you don't have a lot of time, I know people are busy, and if you have families and everything, jobs, even if you just have, like, what's one thing that's non-negotiable? Like for me, I need at least 5 minutes in the morning before anyone talks to me. Just to calm and center. And I'm very spiritually on oriented, so just to kind of connect that way with higher power, and just to get in that space to remind myself, oh yeah, I'm not just a little human down here on the planet doing it all by myself. I've got tremendous unseen resources at my fingertips here, if I can remember to pause and connect with them. And everyone's on their own journey as far as their understanding about that and spirituality, but I really see that as that's been really key for me too. And I'll just say that there was a gentleman, Pidram Shojai. He wrote a book called The Urban Monk. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of him, but he's written a bunch of books. But in one of his books, he talks about how we're all either vertical feeders or horizontal feeders. And so that we can learn how to connect with the infinite resources that are available to us. And that's,
I've never heard
yeah.
that. What is the difference between a vertical and horizontal feeder?
Yeah, so unless we have that, like a vertical feeder, unless we have some sense of like we are being cared for, and we can feel secure that we're in the arms of a loving universe that is going to provide for us, then we're always looking to sources outside, other sources horizontally, other people. We're always then looking to other people to somehow shore us up and make us feel secure. And I know, like, even like for me, like there's days where whatever's going on in my life where maybe I'm not feeling so sure about things, or I'm feeling scared, or I'm feeling insecure. And I can find myself thinking like, oh, I miss that person, or I should talk to that person. And I'm thinking about like those resources. And I think, no, that's my first thing that I need to do is hook up, is get my vertical connection going. And that's the true source. Like I always tell people, like this is one of the big mistakes, is that I always tell people, if in relationship, if you're struggling, is that your partner's not your source. Your source is your source, whatever that means to you, whatever your understanding is. But that's the primary relationship we need to cultivate. Yes, it's about ourselves. I always say, unless you're in right relationship with yourself, then no relationship will ever be right. That's
Yeah.
true, and all the self-love. But I see that divine connection as really the core essence of what we really need to be able to really feel whole and secure within ourselves. And again, everyone's on their own journey with that, but just even knowing like there's like my higher self or higher power that loves me, even when I maybe in my human conditioning, my conditioned patterns of thinking, and we all have our baggage that we picked up, all our negative self-talk and beliefs about ourselves. We all have that garbage, right? And so even if I'm caught in that, like I know enough now because it's the stuff I coach on, but like I know enough now to not like buy into that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just like that's the essence. I feel like that's the secret. That's like the
I
missing
think
piece
that
that
is so
we
good.
don't hear about, you know?
Because
Yeah.
I think that is so good because when you can be in a relationship with yourself and you're in that
Mhm.
vertical that you were talking about, and you
Mhm.
partner with someone who can do the same, then when you come together, you make have such beautiful harmony because you're your
Mhm.
own individual people doing
Mhm.
life together to make something grand.
Yes, sacred magic.
Yes, I love that so
Yeah.
much. And it has me thinking because, like my whole life, I was conditioned to think like when you get married or you're in a relationship, like they're your better half, like the two halves of you make a whole. And I've
Mhm.
really have had a hard time like accepting that my whole life. I've really rejected it because I'm like, no, like I need to be my best self and I should be in
Mhm.
relationships, whether they're friendships or maybe a
Mhm.
more romantic relationship with someone who
Mhm.
is the same and that together we come together and make something beautiful, but we have to be our own wholes who then
Mhm.
come together to do life together. And I take that into my friendships, my relationships. I even have that in my relationships with my family now. Like, no, like
Mhm.
you have to be your own human and then
Mhm.
together we can do things. But we can't, it
Yeah.
cannot be a dependency on each other. It's
Right,
more of a
right, right.
support of we come together and lift each other
Yeah.
and
Beautiful. Yeah,
support what
that
the
is.
person. Yeah.
That's like you're talking about. That's really what a healthy relationship looks like. And most of us, that's kind of not how we're taught. Like you were saying, what I share to you with my people is that my model of a healthy relationship, it's not, it's two wholes coming together, and where you overlap, that's the relationship. But
Yes. Oh,
you're
I
not
love
like,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I've never really worded it that way. I like the way that you succinctly gave what I just shared words. Thank you.
It's one of
Thank you.
those Zen diagrams where the two circles overlap in that little section in the middle. That's the
Yes.
relationship. It's like you're not like usurped by that other person. I've done that too, but it's like and we're really aiming for a healthy interdependence, like you're talking about. So that is what, that means like, yeah, we're each responsible for our own happiness, our own well-being. And of course, there's going to be times where I'm going to need you to lift me up, or you're going to need me to lift you up, and how we support each other in that way. But in general, if I don't know how to really fill my own cup and be okay just within myself, then I'm always setting myself up for trouble. And I
Yes.
know
And
this because I
disappointment. And who
did
wants
it
to
for
live like
years.
that?
I know, I call that kind of expectation a disappointment waiting to happen. Because,
Oh,
like I said, nobody can do that for you. It's not their job, and nobody can do that to you. And you know what else? If even if someone like was showing up and showering you with all their love and all their attention, like, a majority of the time, which we know doesn't really happen anyways, but even if they were, it only gets you so far.
it's
It's
kind of
like,
suffocating if you're a healthy whole person, if I'm being honest.
right,
And that was something
right.
I didn't know because I used to be the person who drowned people with my love and support. Because
Yes.
I just needed to be loved. I needed to be validated. Like I thought that was how connections were made. And now that I am a whole Tiffany, when people do
Mm,
that to me, it's actually really suffocating because there's no space for me to be myself. And that's very
yeah.
repulsive to me. But anyway, we
Yes.
could go on and on forever. I've loved
Yeah,
this
that's really
conversation
good.
so
Yeah.
much. How does someone connect with you if they're intrigued and they want to go a little bit deeper in this relationship world with you?
Yes, I'm happy to connect with people. I actually have a free gift. If
Ah,
anybody, if you're in,
yes.
if yeah, if you're in a relationship and you're not happy, or maybe you're struggling with the question of whether to stay or go, or you just want to sort of think of, identify if there's any of these patterns that are running, you want to kind of see how healthy, or how relationship ready you are, maybe, or what kind of patterns are running within you. There's a quiz. It's the should I stay or should I go free quiz, and we'll drop a link
great. I'll
We'll
put it in
drop
the show
the link
notes. I
in
will
for
go
that.
click that link because I think we've all been in a situation where it's like, do I stay or do I go? Is this just the
Mhm.
season of hard that I have to work through, or is this like toxic and unhealthy and it's time for me to like pivot and make a
Mhm.
new course? I love that. I think that'll be such a great resource. So go click
Yeah.
the link in the show notes. And with that, that's Two Humans Talking. Talk to you next time. Bye.